Good day, everyone. Under the subject of parliamentary procedure, for today, I will discuss the precedence of motions, reported by yours truly. Meaning of precedence. The term precedence means a state or quality of one thing being more important than another. It also means priority in or in rank. Thus, the term precedence of motions signifies that there are certain motions which are of higher importance or rank than others. Necessity of precedence. While the individual importance of all motions cannot be discounted, performing as they respectively do significant functions for the efficient and orderly conduct of business, they have grown rather large in number that it has been found necessary to classify and rank them according to their relative importance. So, this necessity has been met by the adoption of a set of rules which serve to determine which motions have precedence over others on the basis of their corresponding purposes and functions. Rules of precedence. The precedence of motions is based on the principle that any motion of a rank higher than the one immediately pending is in order. Conversely, any motion of a rank lower than that immediately pending is out of order. In other words, a motion of a higher rank may be proposed even while a motion of a lower rank is pending, but a motion of a lower rank cannot be proposed if the motion immediately pending has a higher precedence. The example of precedence. Sample of precedence of motions in action. To propose an action. If a member wants the organization to do something, he proposes a main motion. For example, I move that we hold an arts festival this summer. If another member wants to talk about this idea, that person says, second. The chair then says, it has been moved and seconded that we hold an arts festival next summer. Is there any discussion? So the group then discusses the main motion. The person who made the main motion has the right to speak first if he chooses. This is the main motion, a proposal for action. If no one seconds the main motion, the chair says, there is no second, so the motion will not be considered, and moves immediately to the next item of business. The second is move to change the proposal. Suppose that during discussion, one member realizes that this summer is too soon, so she can move to amend the main motion. This is a motion that suggests changing the main motion to improve it. She would say, I move that we amend the main motion by striking the words, this summer, and inserting the words, next summer. If another member wants to talk about this amendment, she says, second. The chair then says, it has been moved and seconded that we amend the motion by striking the words, this summer, and inserting the words, next summer. Is there any discussion? So this is the motion to amend a proposal to change a main motion. So the confusing part is that the group discusses and votes on the motion to amend before voting on the main motion. The reason for this pattern is in order for the members to make the main motion as good as it can be, to perfect the main motion. So, move to postpone the proposal to the next meeting. Now, in the course of discussion, another member thinks that the group needs more time to research festivals in the area before making a decision. That member moves postpone the motion to the next meeting. If another member wants to talk about this, he says, second. The chair then says, it has been moved and seconded that we postpone this main motion to our next meeting. Is there any discussions? So this is the motion to postpone to a certain time. Now, how motions work in this example. In this example, each type of motion has a number or rank attached. Main motion, rank 1. Motion to amend, rank 3. Motion to postpone to a certain time, rank 5. So, there are 13 motions with ranks in all, but some of them are seldom used. The main motions has the lowest rank of all, the rank 1, which seems odd, but is how the system works. So, those are the examples of precedent. Precedence of orders of the day. Questions of precedence may also arise in matters of motions that are postponed and created into orders of the day, more particularly when they conflict with each other in the time set for their consideration. Robert's Rules of Order. Here is, as you can see in the left side, this is from Robert's Rules of Order timeline. So Robert's Rules has been used for years as a way to ensure that meetings are run smoothly. So order of business sa precedence of motion or sa motion. Na siya list of order of business nga mga conversation nga ay line sa mga sa chair, sa member, and so on and so forth. The first one, the chair asks, is there any further business? Number 2, member 1, rising from his seat, says, Mr. Chairman. Number 3, member 1, states the chairman. Number 4, member 1 says, I move that the organization, blah blah blah, nga na siya. Number 5, another member, remaining seated, says, I second the motion. 6, the chairman states the motion a first time. 7, the chair asks, is there any discussion? Are you ready for the question? Number 8, member 1, provides facts to support the motion. And number 9, a member secures the floor and speaks in favor of the motion. Number 10, a member secures the floor and speaks against the motion. Number 11, the chair asks, are you ready for the question? Are you ready to vote now? Number 12, the chairman states the motion a second time. 13, the chair says, those in favor of motion says aye. 14, the chair says those opposed say no. 15, the chair rules that the ayes have it and the motion is adopted. And number 16, for the last, the secretary is instructed to write the necessary letter. Handling a motion. Use the diagram to the left to help you better understand handling motions. So, dili na ko siya ma-explain din na part kay na ay mga kuan fan bitaw niya nga di kay na ko siya maklaro, blur kay siya sa picture, pero naman siya kuan process or kung giun sa pag deliver sa mga information from main motion to debate until naabot sa votings. Hindi kayo na ko siya mabasa. So, ano siya, ang handling a motion. No main motion is in order that conflicts with the rules of the organization, presents substantially the same question as a motion previously defeated in the same session, would conflict with a motion that has been temporarily but not finally disposed of and which remains within the control of the assembly, and proposes action outside the scope of the organization's object as defined in the bylaws. Here are the 8 characteristics of motions. Number 1, what is its order of precedence? Number 2, to what motions is it applicable? Number 3, may it interrupt the speaker? Number 4, does it require a second? Number 5, is it debatable? Number 6, is it amendable? Number 7, what vote is required for passage? Number 8, can it be reconsidered? Now let us look at the chart of precedence of motions. The first one, the privilege of motions. The second is the subsidiary motions. And the third is the main motions and the incidental motion. Under privilege motions category, we have this what we call the first is the fixed the time to which to adjourn. Number 2, adjourn if unqualified. Number 3, take a recess. 4, raise a question of privilege. And 5, call for orders of the day. Second, for the subsidiary motions, under this category is lay on the table, call for the previous question, modify the limits of the debate, postpone definitely, commit or refer to a committee, amend the unadopted questions, postpone indefinitely. For the main motions, the main motion is these general main motions. So the specific main motions here are take from the table, reconsider, reconsider and have entered on the minutes, rescind or repeal, expunge, adopt a report or resolution, amend, adoption questions, adjourn, and if it is qualified. The privilege motions. These motions, unlike subsidiary motions, regards the right of members and rights of the organization. All of these motions are undebatable because they are rights and are crucially important. Moreover, so privilege of motions, as you can see the process on the screen, so naa siya process nga gina-present or gina-demo. Naa siya questions of privilege, number 2 recess, and number 3 adjourn. So the questions of privilege are of the lowest rank in privilege motions. This is the motion that allows speakers to be interrupted. If comfort, dignity, safety, or reputation are at stake, a member can use questions of privilege to ask for something to change. So for example, Mrs. Balalong said, "We cannot hear the speaker in the back of the room." There are also two kinds of these privileges, the personal and general. How are they differ? A personal affects the personal comfort of a member as well as their dignity, safety, or reputation, while a general privilege is for the protection of the organization. So that was the first one, the questions of privilege. The second is the recess. Recess makes a short break in a meeting. It intended for lunch, counting ballots, and so on and so forth. The third is adjourn. Adjourn is to close the meeting. It is of the highest rank in privilege motions. Like, for example, Mrs. Marceliana in a school board meeting might say, "I move to adjourn because the hour is late." In order to close the meeting, an adjournment is only in order providing there is another meeting in the future to conduct pending business. So that was the process of privilege motion. Issues requiring immediate attention but not related to the main motion. So here is the sample chart ranking motions from highest to lowest. Second, the category of subsidiary motions. We have subsidiary motions which do things like send a question to a committee or delay it. When the main motion is to put question, during, before, or after debate, a subsidiary motion can be made. So, subsidiary motions can be confusing because they have rank amongst each other. Moreover, following right along our diagram, again, we have subsidiary motions. So, the following examples of subsidiary motions in their order is amend, commit or refer, postpone to a specific time, limit or extend a debate, previous question, which is call for an immediate vote, stopping debate. So basically, these subsidiary motions rank ladder. So as you can see on the left side, shows in what order these motions can be made. So for example, when Mr. Intong moves to amend the motion of adopting the insurance plan, Mr. Ricote immediately moves to postpone the question, which is the main motion, until the next meeting. So mato siyang examples of subsidiary motions. And then, the group would ignore Mr. Intong's motion on amending the motion and instead the debate or the vote on Mr. Ricote's motion to postpone because postpone to a specific time is above and amend on the rank ladder. Now, let's go on into more detail about what what each of these subsidiary motions do exactly. Amend. Amend is to change a pending motion, is to change the wording to make it more acceptable, complete, or clear. The amendment has to be moved before the main motion is adopted. To make the motion more distinct in its meaning, for example, Mr. Intong made the motion to amend the insurance plan main motion by adding active immediately at the end. So there are 3 ways to amend motions: adding words, striking out words, or substituting words. So adoption of amendment does not adopt the main motion, but simply changes it. Also, an amendment can be amended. Number 2, the second is, commit or refer. Refer. If you have checked out the vocabulary library, you can observe that commit and refer mean basically the same thing. To send a pending motion to a different appointed group for consideration, this second group's job is to carefully study and put the motion into proper form for the main group to consider. So for an originally small group, this motion is irrelevant since they had no other group to refer the motion to. So the third one is postpone to a specific time. To postpone to a specific time is to put off a motion to debate and vote on later. Why would you use this, you ask? Let's say that a speaker has just arrived or your group realizes important information regarding the motion will become available at the next meeting. So, you need to have a way for pressing pause on a motion and its debate. The fourth one is the limit or extend debate, or the limiting or extending debate. This subsidiary motion is for saving time when you need to. For a controversial issue, debate can take a long time in a meeting. This does not work if the question to be decided is time pressured to decide it. The limiting or extending debate time motion is used to set a limit to how long before the question is put to vote. So another example. For example, at a meeting, Mrs. Balulong said, I move the question of adopting the purpose insurance policy debate be limited to one speech of 2 minutes for each member that wishes to speak. So Mrs. Balulong could also have said, I move that the 9 p.m. debate be closed regarding the question of adopting the insurance policy. So, ito siya ang number 4. Number 5, for the last, previous question. This last subsidiary motion is like limiting debate, except it does not allow any more time than what already was used. So, basically, the motion stops debate and calls for a vote immediately. For example, Mr. Intong says, I move the previous question. He is asking the group if a vote can be done to stop any more debate. So, ito siyang subsidiary motions. Subsidiary motions also all about the issues that affect either the nature or discussion of the main motion. So, muna siya ang ranking motions from highest to lowest sa subsidiary motion. Ano siya ang chart. This is the chart of subsidiary motion. Subsidiary motions which affect main motion. For the third category of main motions, the last motion voted upon, the business of your club meeting. So main motions are proposal that certain actions be taken or an opinion be expressed by the committee or group. So, a motion, again, it is a proposal that some action be taken or an opinion expressed by the group. So, motions are the reasons the group is meeting. They are the motions to spend money, accept an opinion, institute a program, and so on and so forth. So, now, let us look at the motion diagram. As you can see in the left side. As you can see, there are two groups of motions, diba? The main motions ug ang secondary motions. So, unsay kalahian nila? Main motions come first and show just what the meeting members need to decide on. So, for example, at the Central Mindanao University school board meeting, Mr. Intong, the superintendent, made the motion. Then, after the group had listened to the insurance speaker, to put the purpose insurance policy to action. Now, the group can consider the idea of putting the policy into place. Ito siya ang main motion. While the secondary motions, on the other hand, have more options under them. So, nakita ninyo nga na actually po branch and secondary motions rather than main motion. When a main motion in the floor has been stated and is under question, and before a vote is taken regarding said motion, a secondary motion can be made. So, they are divided into three classes. Mano to siya katong akong di-discuss nga. So, privilege motion, the subsidiary, and ako pang i-discuss ng incidental motion. So, the main motion come first and show just what the meeting members need to decide on. So, the main motion requires a second unless it is from a committee, debatable, amendable, and require a majority vote to pass. Ito siya. Main motion. The main motions is the last motion voted upon the business of your club meeting. So, man siya ang ranking motions from highest to lowest sa main motions. Yan siya ang chart. In other words, as you can see, ang kalahian sa mga result na nakita niyo sa chart sa main motion. So, incidental motions. The incidental or the unranked motions. These motions are different because they have no rank among them, hence the name unranked. Usually, they cannot be debatable or amended. Incidental motions. The first one is the point of order. Point of order is used when a member thinks that the chair is doing something not in order. If the chair fails to defend a rule, a member can use point of order to point it out. When Mr. Intong Smith, the Mr. Chair, said the motion of previous question could not be amended. So, Mrs. Balalong rose to a point of order. So, that's why Mr. Intong will consider this and declare it out of order or in order. So, the conversation might go as like this. Mrs. Balalong, I rise to a point of order. Mr. Intong, what is your point? Mrs. Balalong, the motion of previous question can be amended, contrary to what you just said. Mr. Intong, your point is well taken, and I take back what I had previously said. So, as you can see, you have noticed both participants are peaceful in this example, and they do not wish to make the other angry or conflict. So, there are no specific rules for point of orders. Second, appeal. Appeal is used to allow members to counter what they feel is unfair or incorrect. Once seconded, the motion of appeal is sent directly to the voting of the group. The group can decide to appeal or take away the said ruling from the chair. So, managing example sa appeal. Mrs. Balalong, I appeal the decision of the chair. The amendment just offered is germane. Mrs. Marceliana, second, Mr. Intong, the chair, an appeal has been made that the amendment just offered is germane. Shall the judgment of the chair stand as the judgment of the group? Debate, then voting. Division. The third is division. It allows a member to request a vote be retaken for clarification. If the original vote was taken by a voice vote, after division, it will be taken as a show of hands or a rise vote. If the vote was taken by a rise vote, then after division has been called, it would be by a counted rising vote. So division does not require the member to be recognized. So, for example, Mrs. Balolo, division. Mr. Chair or Mr. Intong, division has been called. So those in favor, please rise, and those opposed. The noes have it, and the motion is lost. So division requires no specific rules. For division of a question. Division of a question is used when motion contains several parts and a member wants to vote on each part separately. So this could be for when a member agrees with only part of the motion being voted on. The fifth is permission to withdraw a motion. Permission to withdraw a motion is not very common motion for a member who made a hasty motion in order to withdraw it. Usually, this is done with general consent. For example, Mrs. Balolong, Mr. President, I request my motion be withdrawn. So, Mr. Intong, the chair, if there is no objections, the motion will be withdrawn. Pause. There are being no objections, the motion is withdrawn. So, you notice there was general consent used in the example instead of voting. 6. The parliamentary inquiry. Parliamentary inquiry is used if a member needs parliamentary help. Often these questions are started with, is it in order to? Again, parliamentary inquiry does not have specific rules because the members are not voting on anything. The point of information. It is used to acquire more information about the motion being considered. So for example, if Mrs. Balolong wanted to know what the surplus was in the maintenance fund, she would call for a point of information. So, an example of conversation is just like this. Mrs. Balolong, I move Mr. Warrant or Mr. Ricote be removed from the committee. Mr. Ricote, I object to the consideration of that question. So the President takes a vote for the consideration of for the question to the consideration of question. That is incidental motions about. Restorative motions. Restorative, another is natin ginatawag na restorative motions. Wala na include sa, wala na ko siya nakita sa book. So, na siya kulang. So, ako na lang ni siyang gidungan. Restorative motions. The additional is, these are special because they contradict a parliamentary rule. The rule that once a question has been decided, it cannot be brought up again at the same meeting. So, restorative motions are special. So, kaya nag-contradict sila sa parliamentary rule. So, there are only two main restorative motions. On the next slide. Another is the, again, the two main restorative motions, I mean, the rescind and the reconsider. The rescind is used to nullify a previously adopted motion. It is like the incidental motion of permission to withdraw a question, except rescind is used when a vote has already been taken. For example, after the committee decided to issue iPods to all students in the school, the treasurer immediately stood up and stated that the school balance would be, for example, let's say $300. So therefore, Mrs. Balolong, in slight panic, moved to rescind the motion of issuing iPads to avoid becoming in debt. So another one is the reconsider. Reconsider is a motion that allows a group to reconsider a vote within a limited time. So, marito siya kalahian sa duha. Rescind, reconsider, and the restorative motion. Order of precedence. So, napay order of precedence sa precedence of motion as well. So, ano to siya kung gina-mention nga katong under sa mga katong subsidiary, privilege, restoration, incidental. Ito siya tong yung mabasa diri nga naay undebatable o napoy debatable. Naano siya privilege, subsidiary. About sa katong naay mga category or mga kinds of motions nga akong na-mention earlier. Sa precedence of motions, na siya ginatawag na right language katong mga category of rules sa katong gikan sa privilege, subsidiary, main motions, o incidental. So these are the 10 or some of the list or the 10 list of right languages when it comes to motions. Let a smaller group research the question. Refer to committee. I want to ask a question of a current speaker. Point of information. We need to set this business aside so that we can hear from the president right now. Lay on the table. What vote is needed to pass this motion? Parliamentary inquiry. We need more time to talk about this. Extend time to debate. I want to talk informally with others to see where they are on this issue before the vote. Move to recess. The chair called on the wrong member. Raise a point of order. I want to change the motion. Move to amend. We decided that last motion in too much of a hurry. Reconsider the question. And the last, number 10, let's wait until the expert arrives next week. Postpone to a certain time. Number 11, I doubt the ruling of the chair. Appeal the decision of the chair. 12, those of us in the back of the room cannot hear the speaker. Raise a question of privilege. Let's stop talking and vote. Move the previous question. I don't agree with the chair's announcement of the vote. Division of the assembly. Don't we have to make the action the executive board took last summer? Ratify. Number 16, I want to consider this item out of the proper order. Suspend the rules. We don't have enough members to legally meet. Let's decide when the meeting will continue. This is the time to fix a time to which to adjourn. Let's decide the two purchases in this motion separately. Number 18, division of the question. Let's generate a list of amounts from which to choose the best one for this motion, creating a blank. And last, number 20, aren't we supposed to hold elections at this time? Call for the orders of the day. So those are the right languages of precedence of motion. So at this moment. So that would be all. Thank you for listening. Hope you learned something, and God bless us all.